it's Russ from the Infectious Group podcast and Vinyl channel. Today I've called in yet more backup, and I got my buddy Josh, who knows far more about the Beatles than I could ever hope to, and we wanted to discuss our top 2 favorite Beatles albums each. And I feel like this is another one where people are going to light up the comment section and ask how on earth these could be our favorites, or at least want to share yours. Take a look at the video and make sure you're ready to comment. Coming right up. Josh actually appeared on the Infectious Group podcast before, and surprise, surprise, the topic for that episode was the Beatles.
Right.
And there was, if you heard that episode, if you haven't, go back and take a listen, but a lot of that episode was questions being asked and me saying things like, I'm not quite sure, and then Josh would have the answer right off the top of his head. So it's funny for me because I don't consider myself a Beatles expert, so I have like different opinions than a lot of Beatles experts do.
Right.
So I feel like you're going to speak on behalf of a lot of people who are going to hear me talk and be like, no, you're wrong. You know, so that's why I called in the troops. So if we're just doing our top 2 favorite Beatles records, what comes in at number 2 for you?
Number 2 for me is going to be Abbey Road. That's probably a little controversial for some people. For me, it's just the reason I love this album is it's just kind of the great finish to their Beatles career.
I know I just labored the point about how I don't know about the Beatles. I always mix this up. This was released last and they recorded it?
This was released before Let It Be, but it was the last album they recorded.
They actually recorded.
That's correct. Let It Be came out with the documentary they did. So
I think, isn't this the one that a lot of people consider this like one of the greatest side 2s ever
absolutely
made?
Yeah. So it had the medley on it. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end of the actual album, right, you got the end, right?
Right on.
So
and you have this is the Giles Martin.
This is the Giles Martin anniversary edition.
Is that your preferred version?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Just the way he remastered it was perfect. So.
Right on. For me, going backwards in time from that, my second album, hands down, is Revolver. Again, I'm not a Beatles expert, but for me, this is the first album I heard from the Beatles where, and I'm not discounting, Ticket to Ride and I Want to Hold Your Hand and all those things, but for me, this was the first album where they really seemed like we can be far more creative than we have been.
Right.
And the diversity that's on this record is astounding to me. Like, I couldn't even imagine going to get a record on the day this came out and getting Eleanor Rigby on one side and For No One on the other side.
Right.
Completely different works. So I know that I think when you rank Beatles stuff, it's always splitting the finest of Paris.
Absolutely.
But
it's like picking your favorite kid.
Yeah. Especially like for me, I can, and when we get to my number 1, I get a lot of Beatles fans that are surprised by it, and for them, it's almost like I picked the wrong kid.
Right.
Dewey Cox, the wrong kid died.
Right.
Right. So Revolver for me easily comes in at number 2. What is your favorite Beatles record of all time?
For me, my favorite Beatles record of all time is going to be Sgt. Pepper's. For me, this is creativity to the max.
So it's what they started here.
Exactly, it's what they started in Revolver and turned it up a notch, right? So.
My thing with Sgt. Pepper is, and I know this is sacrilege, it's not my favorite Beatles record, but the cultural impact is insane.
Right.
Like on the show I talk about all the time what a Pink Floyd fan I am. Richard Wright from Pink Floyd wanted nothing to do with rock music until he heard that Beatles record.
Right.
And for me, thank you Beatles for that.
Absolutely.
If that record didn't exist, I might not have Pink Floyd the way I know.
And this is also the Beatles' reaction to hearing Pet Sounds, right?
Oh yeah,
Pet
absolutely.
It drove the Beatles to get more creative and take chances.
Well, they wanted to outdo Michelle's rating of Pet Sounds, which was 5 out of 10.
Right.
Yeah, we know that with Pet Sounds was at best an average record, so the Beatles thought they could outdo it for sure.
Yep.
Do you have now? I know there's different pressings and remixes and all that. Do you have a preferred pressing?
I don't necessarily have a preferred pressing.
Anyone that's on.
Anyone that's on is good for me.
I'm that way with a lot of Floyd stuff. Like The Wall, I have a very specific pressing I love, but almost any other Pink Floyd album, I'm like, just put on the one that's closest to you.
Right.
It's fine with me.
Right.
For me, my number 1 Beatles record, hands down, is the White Album. First of all, the cover art, I think, is some of the most beautiful art ever made by anybody. It's just stunning, front and back. But what is, in all seriousness, for me, is the peak of their creativity, where in my opinion, there are songs on this record that literally sound like they went in the studio and threw it to the wall, and we're like, I guess that sticks, right? Yeah. And a lot of people detract from this record for that. There's stuff like Bungalow Bill, Everybody's Got Something to Hide, that people, in my opinion, will have the nerve to discount, and they'll say, they went a little far on that one. Yeah. I want them to go a little far, I think this record is, especially under the circumstances that it was made, where you have four guys who barely even want to talk to each other, for the fact that they were able to make such an aggressive statement. And there is a lot of fun on this record that people don't ever bring up too.
Right.
Even from, back in the USSR. The version of Revolution that's on here is a lot more fun than the rockin' version that you always hear. So for me, the heaps of praise, and deservedly so, that the Beatles always get is, oh, they broke the mold, holy cow, they did this stuff no one ever did. And a lot of that always goes towards Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
But I think this is so crazy aggressive that it's just stunning to me that they pulled this off. So those are our top 5. And there's even some debate out there over how many Beatles records there are. I think we went over that on the episode.
Yeah.
There's like, depending on what country you're in, there's this many Beatles records or this many.
Right.
So please make sure to leave a comment below. Josh will be watching this closely, and if you say anything wrong about the Beatles, you get the thumbs down.
The thumbs down on that.
Thumbs down for sure. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hopefully Josh and I have done enough work here to earn your subscription today. And please make sure to leave a comment below if you agree or disagree with any of this stuff. But most of all, thanks for watching.